Life Smarts.
Most Americans have two types of plastic payment cards in their wallets: credit cards and debit cards. They're both convenient but different in several ways. It's important for you to understand that.
Life Smarts. Learn it, live it. Sponsored by Cyber Scout. Here's America's consumer expert, ConsumerMan Herb Weisbaum.
When you pay with a credit card, you're using the bank's money to buy something. The bank has given you a line of credit to do that, and you're expected to pay the money back when you get your monthly credit card statement. If you can't pay the bank back in full when you get your statement and you pay over time, you'll be charged interest on the unpaid balance. Remember, it's a loan. A debit card is like a plastic check. It gives you access to your checking account at the bank or credit union. Use that card to buy something, and the merchant electronically withdraws the money owed from your checking account. With a debit card, you don't have to worry about interest since you're using your money. But if you don't have enough money in your checking account to cover that purchase, you could get hit with an overdraft fee, which can be as high as $35. Let's talk about the pros and cons of debit and credit cards with Ted Rossman at creditcards.com.
With a credit card, you could potentially take on debt. You're basically spending the bank's money. It's a line of credit. Now, of course, you're supposed to pay it back. If you do it over time, you're going to be charged interest. So that's definitely something to be aware of there. Credit cards are much safer than debit cards when it comes to fraud protection. Because with a debit card, because it's tied directly to your checking account, that's money that's coming out of your account. It's real money. And even though you should get it back when you report it promptly, it could take 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then that's money that you don't have in the meantime to pay for groceries, transportation, rent, stuff like that. Whereas with a credit card, it's not real money, so to speak. It's a line of credit. It's the bank's money that's on the line here. So you're not going to be held liable for fraud.
So that's why we say it's always better to use a credit card, not a debit card, when you do online shopping, because if there is a problem, you have more fraud protections with that credit card.
It's risky to use a debit card online because we all have these chip cards nowadays, but they don't do us any good online. This is really still the Wild West for fraudsters. There's a lot of potential to steal your information. Be very careful online. It's a lot safer to use credit and pay with that line of credit rather than the debit card tied directly to your checking account.
Something a lot of people don't realize is if you pay with a debit card, you're not building a credit history. And a credit history is what gives you good credit scores, something you'll need in order to buy a car or rent an apartment or apply for a credit card.
When you use a debit card, it's not going to help your credit score because it's not credit. It's not a loan or a line of credit. It's really akin to cash. You're just paying with money that you already have. Your credit score is all about how good you are at repaying people. So are you a good credit risk? Are you likely to pay that landlord or that credit card company or that car lender back? With a debit card, it doesn't work that way, so it doesn't help you build a credit history.
Ted, a lot of people think that credit cards are inherently bad because some people misuse them and get themselves into financial problems. What's your take?
Credit cards can work for you or against you. There's a saying in the industry that credit cards are like power tools. They could be really useful, or they could be really dangerous in the wrong hands. You really need to be careful about debt, first and foremost. Credit cards charge high interest rates, usually something like 17 to 25%. So rule number one is pay these bills in full and on time every month, and then you get the card working for you. Your credit score can be hurt dramatically by even one late payment. Paying one bill 30 days late could trim 100 points off an otherwise good credit score. That's enough to drop you from a really good rating to a very mediocre or even bad threshold. That could cost you a lot of money on higher rates. It could prevent you from getting approved for future loans, lines of credit, apartment leases. You really need to pay your bills on time every time. That's the number one way to build good credit.
So for the students watching, what should they be looking for when they go shopping for their first credit card?
I think with your first credit card, you should be looking for a card that does not charge an annual fee. You should be looking for low fees in other areas too. Like for instance, if you're going to be studying abroad, you want a card that has no foreign transaction fees.
And what about rewards, miles, points, or cash back? Should they be looking for a rewards credit card?
It's good to get rewards, but I would say that that's not your primary concern with your first card. I would kind of start small, low fees, low interest rate, just kind of get your feet wet. And then once you get established and hopefully get in the habit of paying your bills on time, every time, pay them in full to avoid interest, then you can start going for rewards like frequent flyer miles, hotel points, cash back. This can all really add up, but you need to be careful because credit cards charge high interest rates, often 17%, 20%, even 25%. You don't want to pay that much just to get 1 or 2 or 3% in cash back or airline miles. So you really need to pay these in full and avoid interest to make it worth it.
Credit cards and debit cards, two types of plastic that let you pay for things in very different ways. Well, that's it for now. I hope you'll share this video with your friends. Remember, you can find me, Herb Weisbaum, online anytime on my website, ConsumerMan.com.
Life Smarts, a service of the National Consumers League, sponsored by CyberScout. Join the competition and use the free study resources on lifesmarts.org. Life Smarts. Learn it, live it.
Life Smarts.